Maggie Clark is the co-host of the new podcast, Psychic Evolution, with Jamie Clark, author of Spiritual Coach Healing Arts Practitioner. Maggie Clark is a respected tarotist and with 25 years. The last 14, she was a teacher, an accomplished teacher. Maggie delights in teaching classes, workshops, and offering tarot readings and consultation and years of her experience. Maggie has instructed people in the ways of tarot, both in colleges and privately. Her newest development is her online tarot learning program. Let me tell you about these two. These two are, in my words, a power duo. Between the two of them, the energy and the help and the love could knock over half of the world in 2 seconds, maybe less. Let me tell you, it's unconditional love. Explained? Unconditional love is a behavior and a feeling towards someone. Jamie and Maggie have taught many techniques on how to take action. Once you achieve unconditional love, your world will change in many, many wonderful ways. Let me introduce you to the host and co-host, Jamie and Maggie Clark.
Oh, yeah. Everybody put your hands together. Yes. And there's a couple I want to talk about right here, too, at the same time. What about this fourth time, 4 years in a row, you won the Psychic Award?
I am very honored and thankful. You know, it's really great because this is not only what I do, but the essence of who I am. And it's beautiful because I don't feel like I've had to work in 22 years genuinely to be able to say that, and it's real. So it's really nice to be able to get the validations. Go, I'm just doing me. Everyone's got the ability. Do you want to use it, and what level do you want to take it to? You know, and you kind of bring it up. Those who know me know I talk about it a lot. But it's like, hey, give my hand. And then I would hear, what is the sound of one hand clapping? And I always thought it was silence until, as I shared, she was like, put your hand up, move your fingers, and do that. I'm like, oh, that's freaking brilliant. That's the sound of one hand clapping. Different perspective, same end result. Because most people will associate until you change that perspective. So I thought, wow, he's very patient with me. Nice to get that insight in a very casual but powerful way.
There's a lot of people that are listening right now, and that on their cell phones and everything. They're afraid to call though.
It's okay.
But I brought it into people that let me see, what's today? Tuesday? Friday.
Yes, sir.
I brought it in when I first saw, that you were a winner of this.
Yeah.
And I brought it into them, and I said, look, you guys don't call up. I said, what's the matter for you? You got some kind of problem. What do I got to do? Got to come in here and now with a slingshot or something like that to blow you guys away or something? What's the matter? So they said, well, it's a psychic. I said, a person who can read you inside out, upside down, and backwards, awarded 4 years in a row. Obviously, somebody knew he was. And I said, you guys are not anybody. I'm serious. Anybody that doesn't call in to these shows and that have a space in between here and here.
And the cool thing is
go.
Yeah, if they don't want to, that's great because we can be entertaining and informative. Sometimes, not everyone's comfortably able to do that. You've been doing this your whole life, so you're a pro at it, and it's first nature to you. But, it's really nice that a lot more people are tuning in. A lot more people are expanding and opening up to life and these intuitive abilities. So I love it because it's nice when people start to open themselves up and they're like, I'm all psychic-like. I'm like, good, keep going. You don't have a clue, keep the same approach, keep going. But it's really nice because people are becoming a little bit more comfortable with those gut feelings, those mindscape pictures that flow through and they happen. It's a really nice natural ability. And, as I always say, these abilities are so natural, they're supernatural is the point.
I've said to people, I said, we have a lot of fun on the shows all the time.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like, really, it's up all the time, and that we're not down. We're not going to be depressing anybody. We're not going to tell anybody that like the economy has gone, the gas is through the roof,
Mhm.
et cetera. I mean, we're not going to tell you that here. But on the other hand, I have said to people many, many, many times, when you call in and you do find out a little bit more about yourself, you are changing your path. You now know that maybe you were going down the wrong sidewalk. You know, get off of there, go somewhere else, do
And that
something.
there's more to it than that.
Right.
Yes.
And you know what? When you you and Maggie, both of you, tell somebody that it might be time for a change, people have the changes staring them in the face, and they have to have somebody that's just. I mean, it's like standing on the edge of a cliff. A little push. I mean, I'm serious. I mean, it's like people have to understand that there are so many things. This universe. We are not. Let's face it. The more and more I say about this is the matrix. It really, really is. Dimensions are dimensions. Dimensions are folded into one universe. Each one of those dimensions are another uh, vision or shadow of yourself over and over and over again. You know, and if you understand yourself a little bit better, you can navigate the rest of your life a little easier.
You know, you bring up an interesting point as soon as you said the glitch or the matrix. And just a couple of days ago, because those who know me know I question everything, but here in Phoenix, Arizona, if anyone has an idea about it, I was turning off of 7th Street and made a right going down Deer Valley, heading eastbound. As I'm heading eastbound, there's this plane at a very, very low altitude. It got my freaking attention because I'm like, it goes any lower, it's going to hit the freaking houses. And it was not like a dark green, like an army thing. It was a lighter color green. It was a jet. There were no propellers. And as I'm coming across, there was a car a couple of 100 yards in front of me, but I was pretty much by myself. And so as I'm looking at the plane, as I'm driving down, and it's going in front of me, I look and there was a large light, and that plane was freaking hovering. It was hovering. There was no blades keeping it there. I'm like, what the? So I turned into the middle lane and then I looked and it was still there. And then as soon as I got my camera out, bam, they kept going. I'm like, are you freaking? Because you could say anything if you don't have it. But that was the first time I have ever seen that. I've seen a couple of videos and I'm sure a lot of them are CGI, but where, you know, it's a glitch in the matrix and it's a plane or whatever it is that's just stationary. It's freaking real. I can only speak from firsthand experience, but God, I wish I could have gotten some video because then it's even more solid. But now I look at that going, apparently there's some validity to that. That's not just a bunch of crap.
From what I understand, they have a new jet out that, like the Harrier,
right?
They don't make anymore. It's very, very similar. It can take off from somewhere vertically and then go straight up. So in other words, it comes off the ground like this, and then when it gets like a couple thousand feet up in the air or something like that, it just very slowly goes and see it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look like the Harrier. The Harrier had those big engines that turned and went down and everything else. This thing it's just like direction doors for the thing, and it just directs the hot air down.
What if just some of this, and again, this is cute, but they already have the technology that has been reverse engineered. And what if a number of these lights that we see in the sky are actually human, not extraterrestrial?
Oh, probably. I mean, I have no doubt whatsoever. I mean, you've talked to Mark. I've talked to Mark. I mean, possibilities are
tremendous
out there. Yeah.
Yes. And, again, when you have your firsthand experience, it just gets real. Because many years ago, I believe, and I've got a recording of it, but in the late 90s, 97, 98, I believe, I was sitting in my backyard here in Phoenix, Arizona. It's pretty much in central. It was 13th Street and Angela, so pretty much into the central area. And all of a sudden, it's nighttime, and I hear these jets. I'm like, that's loud, and those seem low. And so I look up, And as I'm looking up at the tip of my house on the roof, these two jets come over. And not only were there two jets coming over, but there was a third one at a back distance. The two front jets had golden orbs. They were oval shaped. They weren't circled. They were oval shaped and they were golden. And the jets are doing this and the things are like skipping stones. And they're just right down freaking central Phoenix. And
Wow.
it was probably about 9 o'clock at night. I thought, man, these people have some guts because these jets were going. There wasn't any freak out. They were just going along while these were here. And I did the best I could. Each orb was, again, elongated oval, but it was about 3/4 the length of the ship, in this case, the airplane, the jet. Two of them. Third one in the back didn't have it going by. That must have been a gunner or safety, or I don't have a clue, whatever it was. But man, once you experience that kind of stuff going, oh, yeah, you're crazy, huh? Until it's validated. That's why for myself, go, no, I'm sure I'm way off, but I guess we'll see. Because as we're moving along, human consciousness is shifting. That's why we're at the tipping point of consciousness, 51%. Bip. Now, things are about to get interesting.
I wanted to look that up in there real quick because I had the author of the book, Phoenix Lights.
Oh, yeah, Link
and-
Katai. Yeah.
And photographer. I had them both on the show one time.
And how was that?
And it was kind of cool, but I had to look it up because I'm saying to myself, how long ago was that? That was 25 years ago.
Yeah, huh?
See? I talk about
Imagine what they have.
where did the time go? Bam, just like
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
I mean, people look at me and they go, well, how old are you? And, well, like I'm really going to
I can't count that high. Or I can count high. I don't know.
I got high by a lost count. What'd you say? What?
Really, exactly. Those beautiful ears, man.
Damn, the whippersnappers, goddamn.
But have you, Bob, have you ever seen any lights in the sky or any different things more than normal?
We had one the other day. When I go
What
out with the dogs, usually it's like, because it's clear, I mean, very, very clear.
Sure.
Every once in a while, Net, you'll see a group, and I'm saying like a grouping of lights, and that'll go from one end to the other. But it always it seems to come right over where Cape Canaveral is. Because when the rockets go off, I can see them go off from here.
Wow, that must be amazing.
Oh, it's kind of cool. But, when you see that smoke thing and that go up in here, and that you're saying to yourself, gee, I hope they didn't blow up.
Yeah, huh? Isn't it interesting?
Yeah.
And again, that's just for now and what they're having out. That jet propulsions and all that. It's like, that's cute. However, you go to anti-gravity, magnetic fields, and a variety of other technologies that a lot of these species, and again, just to me, we're not the only ones in this universe, but with the technology, they're able to fold space and time. They're able to go, like two pieces of paper, bip, you don't have to travel. It is coming right to you instantly, a dimensional merging. So it's really interesting to see how humanity is starting to wake up, and the consistency of our brothers and sisters, and again, a lot of us as humans, but getting those lights in the sky, getting so used to it that it becomes commonplace. And that's kind of where we're at now, because just for myself, I don't know nothing for nobody, but around this time of the tipping point, we've had a few pretty major experiences happen over the past couple of years. One, in scientific studies, we've validated that consciousness exists beyond bodily death. Two, the circumstance of what we're dealing with, the COVID. I'm not a doctor, cannot diagnose for nothing for nobody, but that separation of the entire planet also gave a lot of spiritual growth for people, because for a little time, I believe they were saying, you ain't going to that location, meaning church, and whatever works for you is beautiful. So people are freaking out, going, well, what am I supposed to do? Bring it to me. Oh, because that kind of a connection, realizing if you need to go to a building to make your connections, do it. That's beautiful. But it's all God consciousness. But in addition, for them to have their own connection with the big guy, he, she, it, nothing, 0-point field, whatever you want to label it, is also kind of tying into right about now, after all these years, we're starting to be told we may not be alone in the universe. Because when our brothers and sisters are standing before us, religion as you know it is gone. People are going to have a reality check.
the funny thing is, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna say this on the air, and everybody's gonna listen to this, but excuse me, the guys that I saw at that UFO meeting,
Okay.
most of them are pretty brilliant guys. You know, they got a good head on their shoulders or whatever. But the thing that got me was when you put all of them in the same room together, they lose everything.
What do you mean?
Well, the way they were talking about what happened and the things that happened and the things they've seen and the things that could happen, when somebody turns around and says this is a danger or this could end Earth the way where we know of it, I have to laugh till I was almost crying the other day when I was seeing on TV. I'm serious. I mean, not because I'm a believer in this kind of thing, or that I've ever seen anything, or that I know people that have actually known, things that go on through a higher plateau in our lives. But when somebody says that something's going to create some kind of a danger, there is absolute truth that 3 years? It's either 3 million or 3 million. I forget a billion. I forget what the number was. But before that time, there was already people, another civilization that was already here. We're just an experiment. That's what I say.
Yeah, and created. What if we have been here for millions of years?
Oh, we were.
Millions of
We
years.
were. We were. Like any other, like for instance, you got Mars, for instance. We'll use that one that we're trying to get to.
Really? What if we've been going there for the past 30
uh,
years?
exactly. Yeah, but they don't say that. But I'm saying these planets could have been just like Earth at one time, just a little different because they're in a different position to the sun. So of course temperatures are different. People would live underground instead of on top of ground, which is what I'm thinking was already happened, like he said, for 30 years. But then you got the moon that you has a dark side that you never see. Really? So what's on the other side? I don't think it's on the other side. I think it's in it.
As
But
well as on the other
yeah,
side.
yeah,
Yes.
that's a whole nother thought of mine. Like you ever like go to sleep and you like see things because you had a thought maybe when you went to sleep and it just continues after you go to sleep. I mean, I boy, I partied. I'm telling you, them moody guys are cool. But anyway, when we're thinking about these kind of things and you see those UFO guys in one room, I had to laugh because nobody said anything that I didn't know, and I'm not as intelligent as they are. I can't wallpaper my
Walmart, same thing.
with yeah
Freaking
with
wallet.
PhDs and master degrees and all this other kind of stuff. I'm sorry. I just went to I just bachelor's is good for me. But
I'm right there with you. I didn't.
yeah,
Yeah.
but in music and business, I was confused.
Okay. Sounds like you got your act together as the years
Oh,
moved on.
well, yeah, because I made a business out of music. Woo.
Yeah.
But but anyhow, with all these things that are going on, they wasted so much money, so much time to find out something that we knew about already. Why don't they just turn around and say, "Hey, you know what? We had them here. We saw them. We tried to save one of them. We knew one. We saw one actually walk." Oh my God. But they don't say that. They keep lying and lying and lying. What the heck? I mean, come on. We're all humans. We're all here. At this point, we got nothing to lose. So, hey, tell us the truth.
See, I'm curious as to the pushback because for all of these years, there's no such thing. What are you, crazy? And then all of a sudden, well, it was for your own good. Like, really?
Yeah,
So
really.
these life-changing, planet-changing
Exactly.
is what the flagnog? Holy, so I'm curious to see what's going to happen with that to go. And that's great because, governments are beautiful, but not all of them are backing what they're saying. What if there's a strong potential that there are beings still on the interior of Mars. What if many, many, many years ago they did kind of obliterate themselves?
How about the astronauts that were on the moon and were warned not to come back? Okay.
Well,
I mean, when you think about it, and they actually saw, you could hear it. I saw one of the, didn't see it. I had listened to it. One of the tapes that they had from NASA that they've, taken out of commission for a long, long, long time, and somebody got it and leaked it, and I got a hold of it, one of them, and you could actually hear the one astronaut say to the other one, "Did you see that?" He goes, "No, what was that?" He said, "Well, there was this thing right over there." Okay, so it's not like it's like being in the middle of the desert by your house. I mean, it's like you can see anything that moves.
Yeah, usually.
If it's above the ground, forget it. But you got to, there's mountains and there's ground, flat, flat, flat ground, and the moon is the same way, except for maybe a little, lit thing on a crater or something.
And some domes and things like that. Yeah.
But yeah, but still, I mean, this is like when somebody actually saw something, and when the original video came out, they edited out what he said, and nobody knew it until just lately because some people never, I don't know how they did it, but they got into the everything is zeros and ones. Somehow or another, somebody actually unscrewed it.
Yeah, isn't it? I believe Buzz Aldrin was one of the first people there. Yep. I used to work at a place. I worked in hospitality for many years, and I used to work at a place called Marriott Camelback Inn. Back then it was a 5-star 5-diamond, and we had a lot of people, presidents, and all that stuff come through. So I got a great chance and opportunity to talk with a bunch of people. But in addition, there was a presentation that Buzz Aldrin was at Marriott, and he had written a book, and he was doing autographs and signing. And as I was talking with him, it was very nice and very casual conversation. I said, "Hey, well, we've been watching you for quite some time." And he looked at me like, "What? What?" And so I just kind of kept going, but I just felt the need to say that. And I believe that it's been heard, because I haven't heard it personally, but that on some of those, there was a circumstance where something hit the moon and blang.
Oh, yeah.
Like, why would that happen if there weren't something metal or whatever the case is below the surface?
Yeah, it's got an actual sound when something hit.
Interesting. And yet all these craters and all of these other aspects, what about the domes that are being found? Well, as they're just sharing, it's like, oh, isn't that cute?
I saw that, yeah. The domes on Mars.
Yeah, well, that as well, yeah. Plus, again, it's just that kind of a connection, because in this capacity, as a species, we're not going to necessarily save the human race from itself. But what we can do is become that inside job and becoming a star seed of consciousness. So now we were being born into humanity as a human to make the evolution possible. It wasn't an outside source, it was an inside source. Because just potentially, had we saved humans from themselves and we had the right idea to help them, and yet after that, they kind of had the technology, maybe something like they do now, to obliterate stuff, and they started traveling to other worlds. Who you gonna think gonna feel pretty bad going, well, we had the right intent, we wanted to help this planet, but we didn't realize that by helping them, we just destroyed 30 other planets. Like, oh, well, So again, just from my awareness, it's that inside job. A lot of people are waking up and being activated to go, I don't feel like I'm from here. It's like, right, none of us are. Again, just a little bit of technology and co-creativeness through other species to create new ones.
You talk about things like that, but this is something that everybody should really, really get into a bit. I mean, really, just it's a conversation kind of a thing, and that if somebody wants to go to church and somebody wants to talk about it, we've got one of those spiritual churches right here.
Yeah, beautiful.
That you can actually openly, talk about something like that. But what I was going to say was that there was on TV yesterday, that this pilot, and that actually had a picture of this thing that was like dropping out of the earth or whatever. They had it on radar, this thing. It was at 80,000 feet. So this jet goes, okay, you're at 80,000 feet. I'm going to go get you. So whoop, up he goes. As he's going, the thing at 80,000 feet, in 3 seconds, comes to 3 or 4 feet over the water.
Yep.
For the Pacific.
Yep.
In 3 seconds. The guy they gave a Mach number. I forget what the Mach number was, but it was we have nothing that can even touch that kind of speed.
Yeah.
80,000 to 3 feet over the water, like this.
Yep. I have seen that kind of technology in action. I worked at a few other places. And one of the other places that I was at, I was talking with a bar supervisor that evening. And we were just kind of standing in the back patio enjoying conversation. And in South Phoenix, basically behind the mountain, South Mountain, was these lights just flittering around. And I'm like, what the? So as we looked, I'm like, do you see that? And then he's like, yeah, I do. And then all of a sudden, bip, this red light comes on, and within 2 seconds, from miles and miles and miles and miles away past the South Mountain, I called it the ruby red skipper. It literally went voof, voof, and was gone. Within seconds, it was at our place and then went down the valleyway of where this other resort was. And I thought, wow. And the good thing is it wasn't just me. This gentleman saw the very same thing I did. I'm like, did you see it? What color was it? And he's like, red. I'm like, okay, perfect. Because I want to make sure I'm not just making crap up. But when I saw that and it was just that quick, wow, that was impressive.
So don't us humans, or shouldn't we, believe that if they were really, really, really nasty guys that wanted to threaten, this is what he said, threaten U.S. security. If they wanted to do something like that, don't you think they would have done it a long time ago? They can wiggle their nose and probably annihilate America. Poof.
They could neutralize the entire planet.
Yeah.
I had a good friend many years ago, and he was in a nuclear site. He was one of the button pushers. You had to have, however that worked. And they were underground. And all of a sudden, up above the ground, people started getting this light. They're like, what the? And then in an instant, everything shut off. They were in the freaking dark. Nothing operated. That's how easy it is to neutralize this planet, at least with the right technology. And I thought, wow, this person was trained to be skeptical and question all that, because you're dealing with life experiences here. One push of that button can annihilate a whole country. So anyhow, they were just shut down. All they did was sit in the dark, man. That's all they could do. That easy. It's amazing.
Hey, Mac, you got this look on your face like, what are they talking about?
Yeah, no, she's patient.
I love this conversation. I think that there's so much we don't know about, but there's so much that we see. There's so much we're being exposed to, so much that's coming into the forefront of consciousness right now. I don't know. I'm all about aliens. I love them.
I really think you're right in a way, but what I'm thinking all the time is there's a lot of information out there and there's a lot of things that are going on, but we are blocking our own ability to believe. You know what I mean? I don't know whether it's a doubt block or just, like something really, really stupid, like, oh no, there ain't no aliens. It's a word sometimes.
Well, and we're also confronting, our safety. I mean, look at what just one little teeny virus on this planet did. It made everybody feel unsafe. What would a whole alien species do to this planet? I mean, you'd have mass consciousness flipping out. So you really have to think about, what does that even mean? The last thing human beings want to do is feel like they're not safe. So if I don't believe that they're real, I can live in my little cocoon. I can still feel safe. I can still navigate my human journey, and I can, make the best of my life. When you open up, when you know, or when you assume, or when you believe that there are other species out there besides humans, you have to accept that your safety is now in a different realm. Okay. It's not what you've been told. You can't put your safety in the guise of what you've been taught, what people are telling you, and what the average person knows and believes. You're putting it into a different realm. So for those of us who are very comfortable in that realm, it has to stem from feeling safe within ourselves, whether it's a soul vibration, past life, a starseed connection, whatever it is, but we feel safe in that. So we allow ourselves to believe. And remember that everybody has their own reality, and your beliefs do kind of co-create your reality. So you could go on for the rest of your life believing that nothing exists besides humanity. And you're going to have just a fine life, and when you get on the other side, you might learn something different. But we do have a choice sometimes as to what we believe. Now, because the government's decided to open some things up, bringing it back into the public, the things that they're releasing first and foremost are actually things that are making people feel unsafe. Like the whole releasing, like, oh, guess what? There's 3,000 reports of women saying they've had sex with aliens. Okay, isn't that wonderful thing just to release into the public? And that's going to make you feel safe and comfortable wanting to believe that that's true. All of a sudden now my own sexuality, my body is now going to be compromised by an alien. Now, some of us might be comfortable with that. Why not? Yet, I'm telling you,
Yeah,
I'm
man.
telling you, yet the fact is that what they are releasing is not making humanity feel safe. It's making humanity question their own safety. So on the heels of COVID, then, oh, by the way, you might be abducted and, get raped by an alien. Like, who wants to hear that? They could have released anything else, but they chose to release those stories, that study. Like, come
Right.
on now.
You're right, but right on top of monkeypox
Right.
that nobody can catch, by the way.
They're creating
I
a
mean,
zoo.
literally,
Chicken pox,
have-
monkey pox, donkey pox. No, I'm kidding.
no, but I'm serious though. I mean, here is something that's been around. Monkeypox has been around for a long time. This is not something new. It's been, there's been thousands of people that had it in the Congo. And I looked up more stories about that because everybody on TV, I'm saying, no, they got to be out of their minds. So they're saying, oh, well, we'll need masks. When you can't get it through the air. It can't be spread that way. You literally have to get the whatever's in the pus that's in the things on you, in your skin. That's how you'll get it. So as long as you don't touch the guy, hey, let him, do whatever he wants to do. Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, yeah. Don't look at them. Don't touch them. Don't breathe on them. Like, what more rules do we need in this mess, right?
Yeah, but how many are going to actually catch it? If it's not
Yeah.
really, if you really can't catch it all the time, how many people? Maybe a few people will catch it for some crazy reason, but the rest of us will be pretty safe.
Right, right.
We'll come out with another vaccine. That's right. Hey, let's get another injection in there. They can go hang themselves. If I'm ever going to get a vaccine, sorry. I do my vitamins and everything else. I haven't had a cold in like forever. When have you? I mean, Jamie knows me what, almost 10 years,
Yeah, a little bit longer.
or longer.
Yep.
And when have I been sick?
No, you haven't.
The only thing I had was surgery a couple of years ago for hernia. That's it.
Right. Yeah.
And I wasn't sick. I was very healthy, in fact. The doctor says, "Oh, you're really, really in good shape." Gee, thanks, doc. Just fix.
Well,
But
and this is part of just, everything about what is being exposed right now. We have so many people waking up consciously going, whoa, I definitely feel connected to, the alien species that people are investigating. Am I connected to the Lyrans, the Andromedans, the Orions, the Pleiadians, the
yeah, right.
Arcturians? People are making connections on their own. They're just going now to a truer source, which is their soul. Like their soul source is where all the information is, the Akashic records, whatever you want to call it. But their soul source and what they feel inside is now what they're learning how to believe. So humanity is actually being steered because of all the atrocities in the mass media and governments. Humanity's being steered inward. And it's this inward journey. And this is exactly what Jamie talks about with the tipping point of consciousness. You go inside, you discover it within, that level of consciousness, awareness about who you are as a soul, whether it's connected to aliens, star seeds, or past lives, or just having soul wisdom here and now, makes no difference. But you're tuning your source to the true source, right? To yourself. And that's where all the gold can be met and harvested, because everything else is just what someone else is telling us. And for years that was okay. Okay, for a long time that was okay, because we were learning how to be interconnected, and it was good. We all became interconnected. But now we're all interconnected. We all have internet. We all have these things, at least for a time being anyway, where we can now have this sense of, okay, now that I've heard everything that someone else is going to tell me, what more is there? What more is there? And it doesn't, I always think that with the understanding that we're not alone in this universe, that there are other species out there, we have to look into our heart. We have to look into our soul. We have to say, okay, how do I feel about this? Because one, if I don't feel safe, I might not believe it. If I do feel safe, then there's so much to explore. And again, I definitely feel it comes down to this raw, primal need to feel safe and secure to explore who you are.
I bring up another interesting point, and that is, because for me, I'm just the oddball thinking differently. But with one, I always say everything is spiritual and life is relative. We are extraterrestrials to everyone else. Ooh, we are living on the other side of where we come from before here. Now, let's take that a step further. Just to my awareness, I believe that we perceive death as stopping the body or whatever vehicle you're in, and then you're on the other side, wherever that is. Aren't we on the other side of where we come from before here? How dead do you feel? Or could you realize it is but a life experience, that eternal life? Each life we live is a minute in the hour, hour in the day. And each of those days of experience goes into our Solodex as an eternal soul part of consciousness.
Funny though, the older you get, the more you realize that. It's a funny thing. I mean, seriously. I mean,
you must know everything. Is old? No, I'm kidding.
I'll give. All right, look. I'll give you something. There were five girls at the place that I go to, and that are really, really good. They're really, really into this, and it's they do Ouija's and cards and all kinds of stuff.
Nice.
They're crazy, but I said to them, I said, you know what? I says, you guys, it says, you don't expand yourself far enough into history to know the future. I said, when you know where you came from, you'll usually know where you went or where you're going. So I said, why don't you do this? I said, sometime or another, I said, go home. I've told you guys the stories that before. I mean, I remember when I was 2. But what I said to them was, I said, do you guys know who Eisenhower is? And they said, so the one girl turns around, she goes, he was the president, right? I said, well, yeah, he was the president. Yeah, okay. I said, do you know that I shook his hand before he was a president? She goes, what? I said, yeah, he was a general. So nice. The girls, like they all get their mouths open. Huh? They don't even remember the fact that Eisenhower was a general. Right. They don't know anything about World War II or World War One. But I had an uncle that was like Civil War. Yeah, first war, all this stuff. He was like an expert. This guy had a library of all kinds of books and everything. And he would sit down with us kids, us cousins sometimes, and he would either read or go through the books and everything else. And as I grew older, I started going through the stuff too, because my dad, even though he died when he was 45, before he was deceased, he gave me so much information, things that you don't read in the books or that you don't see anywhere, the things about Normandy and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. And the reason why they had his helmet had a red cross on it with a white spot. The second they hit the sand, like sandbars, and that when they went into the beach, they ditched those helmets. the first place that the sharp shooters on the beach would hit was those white spots.
Oh.
So, I mean, seriously, and he had one of his helmets that he had brought back from World War II. There was a bullet right through the back of the thing.
Wow.
It had, just bounced off, I guess, the helmet.
Right.
But it was
Dang.
so. I mean, like, hey, I mean, these kind of things. What would have happened if that really, really connected? I wouldn't be here. Think about it. Our whole lives are entwined somehow in the history of before, whatever before was for you.
And now we start to realize right now, these days are the good old days. They will become the good old days. Can
Yeah.
we live as if we're here, not just existing, but living?
But the other part of that is we can make our future. You get to a certain age, and all of a sudden the past and the history is over, but it's all part of you. And now you take all of that you learned and you go, you know what? This world, the S word, and let's go forward. Let's screw these guys. I mean, let's face it. I mean, when they call Washington a swamp, okay, they're too nice. They really, really are. They're too correct.
How many people can talk like that, though, without having repercussions?
It was funny though. After all those years, you talk about history. All right. I mean, I remember when we had one of the senators from Washington actually lived in the town that I was born in, and he'd come home like on the weekends and wherever else. And my mother knew him well. So did my father. My father was very much into politics and everything else, and that he was very Republican kind of dude. He used to ride people, pick people up at the house and take them to vote. I mean, it was like
That's old school. I mean, that's beautiful.
I grew up in one of those kind of things. And the funny part about it was, all these people and the guy that I'm talking about, the senator, was so nice. They were generally, how would you say it? Honestly nice. They were like neighbors.
Sincere, yeah.
Very sincere. They were like neighbors. Those kind of things. And if you needed something, say the school needed something, the whatever needed something, he'd make a couple of phone calls or whatever else, and whatever you asked for would probably happen. That's why I didn't go to Vietnam. Was that man?
Okay.
There was someone in the next town over from me. I mean, literally the next town over from me that had my name. Only his last name had two N's on the end of it. He was the Jewish boy, and I was the Catholic boy.
Oh, man, you're like, good luck.
I mean, wait a minute.
Oh, shoot.
We the regional place that we used to go with our cards and everything else, and then you were filed, for your draft or whatever. In that place, whoever picked out the cards on day one picked out the wrong card. Picked out mine instead of his. My birthday, my number on the card. You get 365 days a year, and that's how the numbers go, and that's how you're picked, and that's how they go down 1, 2, 3, 4, and they keep calling people up by the number. Okay, mine was 256. His was 1. So it wound out. They pulled out mine to be the 1. So that I get these things and everything else, and that the president, is proud, well, you're going to serve, that. And I said, wait a minute, whoa, that's not my number. So, all right, so we got in touch with the senator, my mother did, and the senator, and that was very, very cool. This guy he must have been psychic too, but he turned around, he said, you'll get a call within the hour. So we were, okay, good. Well, we did. We got a call within the hour and everything else. I had to show up somewhere. I had to bring my birth certificate and all this kind of stuff. And the other guy went. But the other Bob Opperman, him, I, communicated with forever. Not right now. I mean, who knows what happened to him? I mean, he must be gone because I don't hear from him anymore. But that guy, he made it fine through Vietnam. So I was like, whew, I
The
was like,
cosmic way. What if that was the right choice?
yeah,
It's the same name. Like,
he
what
made it
the-
through.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
powerful.
But I mean, you see, these are the things, Nat, in your history, Nat, that do make you what you are. A bit of luck, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, all the things that I did, the musician part of it, and everything. All of that. When you want to be a spiritual person and bring yourself inside and start communicating with yourself and talking to your soul, do you ever listen?
What? Huh?
I mean, I'm serious. No, I'm talking about the soul. The soul, the soul at that point, literally, it knows it was there, but now it listens and speaks to you.
Right.
It scares the hell out of me. I'm sorry, man. I never had things like that happen before in my life and that, but lately, since, I have through the years, I mean, let's face it, I must have been the slowest spiritual person on the planet.
You still number one.
But it took me a lot of years, Ned, to 100% dedicate myself to that thought,
Sure.
that type of thought, like the meditation or anything else. Meditation, I used to go, meditation, what are you talking about? And now that I know what it is, I mean, I can actually, I can chart myself, my month, by having a good session
Yeah.
with myself.
Oh, you thought it was medication, not meditation. I'm
No,
kidding. Take
no.
your own.
I don't take I don't take I don't
You're
take
pretty healthy.
take
Maggie's the same way, man. She's hardly on anything at all ever. I'm
I
like, really? There we go.
take aspirin if I need it. That's it.
That's awesome. Very cool. Hey,
Yeah, yes,
if
your
we
thought.
can, yeah, we got a few minutes. I would love, if you're okay, Mag, to do a tarot reading for Bob.
Sure.
Oh
Bob,
God.
any specific question? What do you want to ask?
No, I told you. You know,
Say it
What's up
again
for
so
the
others
rest
can
of
hear.
his life?
Yeah.
yeah. What does the universe have for the rest of my life?
And the cool thing is,
At this, I mean, the rest of my family, right? We're all gone now or before, except for my grandmother, and that's it. My grandmother was 98.
it to me, it kind of brings up an interesting point, and that is the evolution of our cellular structure, our body, because we have a lineage, family lineage that we all are connected to. We go back again and again and again forever to the beginning of human species, because then we start to realize, oh, well, once we get there, there's so much more. This is only the acclimation of humanity, just the awareness that we're here. There are myriads of other worlds and dimensions and all that kind of stuff. But I think that humanity is starting to wake up to go, let's question things. Like, yes, God bless you. Please be skeptical. Question everything. Just be open. That we get to get practical.
People freak out now because look, I'm not gray yet.
I know you're looking awesome, man, and you don't dye your hair.
Huh? I did it when after the car accident that I died in. My hair
What
turned
happened with that?
instantly white.
Really?
Yeah, it came back after a while, but then it was. I mean, I saw myself in the hospital when I finally woke up, like almost a month later. But I was like, ah!
Dang. Did
Yeah.
did the doctors ever give you any insight as to why that happened?
Fear.
Oh, really? Isn't that interesting? An emotional state.
I didn't even remember. I didn't even remember anything about it. I don't remember hitting a tree at what's a cement truck or a dump truck, the back of a dump truck, at 75 miles an hour.
You are so fortunate to even be here.
No, I should. They had the bag out. They were gonna bag me and.
They're still following you around.
Yeah.
When you're ready, boy.
They probably, like shake and bake was in my history.
Mag, what you got? Now she's doing what card spread is this?
This is a 9-card spread because, if I was doing a private reading, I'd probably do like a 16-card spread on this, but we don't need to get into all the little nuances. But honestly, this is This is kind of a cut and dry reading. You do have the Seven of Swords as a focus, which means there's lots of directions you can take. But honestly, in this reading, you have 6 cards that are all swords. So it's all mental things. So for the remaining of your life, you're wrapping your head around all the lessons you came here to learn. How did it move you forward in life? How is it spiritually connected to you? And what do you need moving forward? You get the Seven of Swords and the Seven of Cups starting the party. And this is all about just staying committed to your life's purpose, your work in the world, getting insight, receiving intuition. You have a nice balance of male and female energies with the cups and the swords right away. But the sevens ask us just to stay committed to who we are. And for the rest of your life, you'll be acting out this quote unquote commitment, right? Commitment to maybe service. Of course, you are a communicator, you're a huge communicator. We see this at the Six of Swords. But what you talk about and what you communicate about, that will be ignited within you. That will shift and change and roll through a process of what do I want to talk about? Not what do I have to talk about, but what are my interests? So there's a whole thing about opening up, not only to the idea of what you want the rest of your life to look like, but what do you want to share with people? What is the insight? Because what you're doing now in this stage of your life is you are sharing your soul wisdom. You are sharing the culmination of what has got you to this purpose.
So
And
I'm selective.
absolutely selective. And you have choices. You have a lot of choices. The Three of Swords shows up here, meaning, okay, you might talk about things like to change people's belief systems, to get people to recognize that there's something different. So, and for yourself individually, there's more to learn, So this is definitely one of those readings that's like, hey, enjoy the ride. Stay committed, to how you want to share information, but realize there's so much more that you're going to learn in this process. It's a huge learning curve for you. Subconsciously, you're motivated to bring all the information and all the consciousness to a new level so that you understand who you are. And that's really what subconsciously what you're going to be doing is training your mind to open and to receive and to see things from a broader perspective. So really, you're being pushed subconsciously just to keep opening and tuning in to what channel you wish to navigate to, because for the rest of your life, you do have a lot of choice over which channel that is to explore. What do I want to talk about? What do I want to share? What do I want to recognize within myself and then be able to feel empowered through that? You do have on a spiritual level the desire to expand consciously. And what I see in this is more of a continuation of an expansion of consciousness. You've already been doing this, but the sevens just take you further on that path of consciousness expansion. And then you still have a lot more to learn right now, a lot more to share. You do have all of these swords are really about sharing information, learning information, growing and expanding the mind, and then being able to consciously wrap your feelings around that and be guided by your feelings in the process. What it brings you is just a self-recognition, more empowering energy, and also an expanded way of sharing that information. So in the remaining of your life, because I never give time frames, by the way, that's nothing that we'll ever talk about, you and I. But what I do see is that your learning process is still on a channel, but you do have decisions to make as to what does that look like, because you're going to be introduced to new concepts, new ideas as your consciousness keeps expanding and you keep exploring how it's relevant to you. Because all in all, you're sharing your journey, you're sharing your story. And for the rest of your life, you're going to be really committed to do that on some level. And as long as you're committed, you'll keep learning and growing and attracting that vibration. It doesn't have to be the only vibration that you attract, but really what it says is that your voice in the world, the way that you're committed to sharing, that's the huge piece in this. And when it shifts and change, you'll be ready to shift and change. Okay. And until then, you're going to do what you do and be who you are. But you're going to learn more about what that means to you on a very, very internal level. On a soul level, we're always constantly expanding and growing into more of our soul wisdom. And that is opening up for you right now on a very spiritual level. You are literally opening up to a broader level of consciousness that's going to help you see yourself and how you share, what you share, and what you really want to recognize as the good stuff of life. What is the spiritual stuff of life that you want to leave behind for people to gain from your wisdom as well? Because there is this whole act of sharing. You do have the Six of Swords in a very, very pivotal position, and that's sharing and blending of ideas and concepts. So that is the fuel that keeps you waking up every day, keeps you going every day. And until that changes, you're going to go down this path of sharing information. And in the process, you're going to learn about yourself. You're going to grow into that expansion of consciousness that's happening.
Wow.
That's it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Wow. And you know what? We were at the beginning of this show, we were talking about that too. About myself, actually, you know, the soul listening and talking to at the same time. The expansion of the meditation.
Yeah.
Everything. But you know, people usually say to me, they go, "Well, you know, I'm just walking with your head in the clouds." I say, "Yeah, but clouds talk too."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh?
Excuse me.
So,
And what you do with that soul recognition and what you do with the feelings, because when a soul imparts wisdom to you, the feelings are amazing around it. And making sense of what it means, you go through the feelings to open everything up. And that's part of your journey right now, is to open up your mind, but through how it feels, not how you think. And so the supporting cards, which we see in cups as the Page of Cups and the Seven of Cups, really are going to support the opening of the imagination, the consciousness, the intuition, like what's possible here and where will that lead me in my self-discovery. So really cool.
did you ever have anybody tell you that they can realize? I mean, you really, I mean, we're talking about like laying down in the bed and just closing your eyes and letting yourself, you know, let the thoughts just go. Like you're just opening up the door and saying, go for it. You know, one of those kind of things. And you actually feel that you've been somewhere else before. You've done something else before. Something is telling you from somewhere that, like, hey, you know, you were here. I know you. I'm serious. I mean, I'm beginning to get that once in a while, and I tell you, it's strange. The first time I actually got something like that, and I told you about the thing in that with the pyramid, but that might have been an out of body kind of deal. But then again, you never know. I might have been there at one time.
Yeah.
And that particular part of standing by the Nile, which, by the way, was by the pyramids that long time ago. The dial was, it moved.
Right.
The original Nile was near the pyramids. Good place to float your rocks.
Float your boat.
Float your boat and the rocks. I still don't believe in that one anyway. But anyway, you know, I actually saw or felt or smelled, in a sense, me standing next to the Nile, and it was quick. You know, like all of a sudden, your conscious self turns around and goes, "I want to see more. I want to see more." So you want to see more. You want to look. You want to feel more, and it just goes away. It kind of fades in and fades out.
It's like a memory, right?
It could, but well, it could be, or something from somewhere talking
Right.
to you or through you. So that was kind of weird. And
That's
you know,
powerful.
people don't realize that you really, really have to take the time, just the time, and it's only minutes to tell you the truth, to actually let it happen, or believe that you are number one. Say I am,
Yeah.
and look in the mirror and say I love you, because your soul hears, it listens,
Yes. And your
and
body
it
does
talks.
too.
Exactly. And these kind of things help you, like for an older person, helps you live longer because you know you're still you, no matter what happens. You know what I mean? I'm still the same you that I was when I was 20.
Yep. Sir.
And well, you know what? I tell you something. I wasn't like a lot of people now when they're 20, 30, whatever. You're kind of crazy. You do stupid things. But I mean, that's part of living. So, I mean, if somebody wants to turn around and says, well, that guy's bad because he did this. Well, it's all right. It's over with, continue.
Right.
But all these things do make the person. But from the time I was 20, actually, I bought my first house when I was 21.
Nice.
But from that time till now, I don't feel any different. Isn't that weird?
Not at all.
No matter what goes on around you, no matter what happens around you, no matter what you do in the life now, if it doesn't change, then somehow or another you've been on the right path all the time. You just didn't realize it.
And that's your soul, right? Your soul is eternal. It doesn't change.
Right.
And, when you have that connection and you carry that through your life, that is like the guiding force. It's the guiding light, so to speak, that you can always tune into. Because there's parts of yourself that you've probably let go of, habits, conditioning, thoughts, belief systems, all these things we can just let go because I'm not buying it. I don't believe it anymore. But when you tune into soul wisdom, all it does is speak truth and ring like it's perfect, right? It's like complete perfection in the presence of the I am.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
It's always good. Bobby.
We got to do, don't forget now, we got a special guest coming on the 14th.
I'm looking forward to it.
If you look, he's probably talked to you. David is an interesting person. I read up about him, and wow. So in a couple of
We'll
weeks,
find out.
and things, he is going to be here on the 14th.
Okay.
Cool.
Beautiful.
That's in a week.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So it should be very, very interesting.
Yeah.
And from what I understand from his writings, for anybody that's listening, and that if you want to hear something, you tune in on the 14th, and that you will be blown away. If you're not blown away right now, you'll be even more blown up. I'm gonna take my hands off that guest. It's gonna be like, go ahead, talk.
All right. Let's see what he's got. That's beautiful.
I mean, yeah, because somebody like that, he's from Brazil, and he's got a wealth of information to give. And if I can be the plateau for him, or the platform to let him give that information, do it. So we're gonna have a good time. Now, your shows, on the other hand, are just unbelievable. I mean, I get notes all the time. In fact, I got one nasty note from one of those shows. Because I was, and the same thing happened tonight with Skype, but this new program is baloney. But part of the beginning of the show, and I was out, and they say, "What's the matter? Your kids still can't learn how to use those things?" And I was like, duh. I mean, they tune into all the shows. We got a lot more followers and things
Awesome.
that coming aboard. People asking, these things, these kind of shows take a long time, because, like I said to you, we are teaching people to believe in themselves. And to teach someone to believe in themselves is like pulling teeth on a really, really nasty horse.
Can be, yeah. Yep.
Because you'll get a hoof in your mouth if you mess around the wrong, for sure.
Yeah, that's where you learn real quick. Right. Yep. No kickbacks.
So what we
Always good, Bobby. We will see you soon, brother.
Oh, yeah. Now, to everybody out there, these two are so awesome. It's unbelievable. Best friends of mine ever. Jamie Clark and Maggie Clark on Pyramid One. God bless y'all. Bob Charles. Out!